going back to the film, it reminds me of that Errol Morris documentary, Thin Blue Line. In that film, came out about 20 years ago, they were able to release an innocent man because of that film.
Yes.
Now, I'm not totally convinced of the innocence of Paco and the 6 other guys. But what I'm like you were saying, the facts. What would be nice is if they revisit the facts, right? I mean, if they, how far are we from getting to that point? What can we, as viewers, as Filipino citizens, do to correct an injustice?
Sure. So fair enough. I mean, Michael as well, when he first started, Michael the director,
Your director,
when he first
Michael
started
Collins.
making this film, he wasn't convinced in their innocence either. And it was really when we started to do our own investigation and when we spoke to all the witnesses and we spoke to the forensic pathologists and the scientists and everyone, and we really determined that they are all innocent as far as we're concerned. Otherwise, we wouldn't have spent 7 years of our lives making this film.
So you're sure of that?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay.
Not just Paco, but all of them.
Okay,
All
even
of
all of them.
Yes, they were all framed.
Now, the reason why they were framed, why them? Why did they choose Paco? We never asked that question in this 20 minutes of interview.
I mean,
why them?
I think Paco was an easy target. He was 19 years old. He was this big guy. He got into a lot of fights. He was a troublemaker. He had a bad reputation.
He had a history.
He had a history of getting into trouble.
So he did bad things, but you're saying he didn't do this.
I'm saying that he was a bully, and this is based on our research and our investigation, and he got into a lot of trouble, and he beat up a lot of people. He had a bad reputation, but he didn't have a police record, and that's a far cry. Getting into fights and kidnap, rape, and murder.
And so that's the Kafkaesque part of the story, is that he just happened to be on a list of names. Am I correct? That
Yes.
they decided, let's pick up these people.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
There was a lot of pressure to solve this crime.
So you have the police maybe going on, let's solve this. Hey, this one, let's pick him up.
Exactly. And so, they rounded up this group. Some of them knew each other. Most of them did not. But they were all portrayed to be this gang. And Paco was the leader of the gang. And then, 6 months later, they pick up Davidson Rusha, who turned state witness. He was the only one who pointed to everyone and who confessed to the crime. And then they ended up releasing him.
So where is he now, this state witness?
We don't know. That was our biggest frustration, is that we never got to Rusha. We never got to interview him. We interviewed every single person.
Is he still alive?
We don't know. I really don't know. We hired a private detective. He went to Bohol, where he's from.
So you don't know? Not even in the States, maybe?
We interviewed over 100 subjects for this film, but Rusha was the only one we didn't get to.
Now, Paco is in Spain right now, still in prison. How he got there is a story in itself. He's a Spanish citizen, but it took the media, politicians, and lawyers in Spain to get him here. Am I correct?
Yep.
Has it, he's been there 3 years now. Has it hit him that perhaps, this is happening to me so that the world may know what goes on in the justice system in the Philippines? Has that kind of, he's like a sacrificial lamb of some sort?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting way of putting it. Not just for Paco, but for his mom as well, his family. His mom has this regret. It comes out in the film where she had an opportunity to tell Paco to leave the country. When all this was happening, he had a chance to flee. And she basically said, if you flee, then people will think you're guilty, and you have no reason to run because you were in Manila.
Correct.
You couldn't have done this crime. You're innocent. And so, had he left, this wouldn't have happened. And when we've spoken to her afterwards, some pretty amazing things have happened. The death penalty was abolished. This treaty of prisoner exchange came about,
The death penalty, that's what the film was saying, was abolished partly because of pressure from
Spain.
Spain,
yeah. Spain
because of his situation.
Yes. I mean, the King of Spain himself spoke to our president.
President Arroyo.
Yes, and asked her
to
help.
abolish.
And yeah, I mean, Spain, this is what I really like. This is the part that I like about the film. It also shows how you fight injustice. You know, I mean, so it's so tragic, this is happening.
Correct.
What do you do? So what the family did is they reached out to the international community, to
Yes,
Spain, you know,
that's
to
right.
human rights groups. And they started campaigning, you know. I mean, Amnesty International made Paco their poster child in their campaign against the death penalty. So they rallied outside the streets of the Philippine embassy in Madrid with
Right.
giant lethal injection
Injections,
needles.
yes, yes.
You know, I mean, there was a movement that was growing.
So some good has come out of this. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is a silver lining, and Paco's mom did recognize that.
Speaking of which, you know, how do they feel, the family, about the Philippines? I mean, what are their feelings about the country?
I mean, this is their home. You know, like I know that like it felt like the entire Cebu or even the nation turned against them, but I think with the film being here now and people watching it, you know, they now feel somewhat vindicated. Paco, when we you know, we went with him to Spain, we interviewed him there. We've seen him since. He still talks so fondly about Cebu. Like he says that he wishes he could move back to Cebu, which for me, I think it's crazy because I would never, like, I mean, these are the people who turned their
But
back.
for him, it's still home.
Yeah,
The
but for
Philippines
him-
is still home.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, he's lonely there. He's lonely.
And this film has been a part of your life for more than 8 years now.
Yeah.
Does it ever get to a point that, you know, I'm sick of this story, it's too much, I want out of this?
Well, the reason why we made this film in the first place is, you know, is for an opportunity to change the world, to make a difference, you know, in our own way. And that's why, you know, we believe in the power of film. Film has you know, film is able to do that. Like what you mentioned earlier, the thin blue line. And so what has kept us going is the way
belief
it's
of-
being received. You know, I mean, you know, not just the awards we've won, not just you know, playing on the BBC and on PBS. What's most important to me is actually bringing the film home. You know, that's why I'm here, because it's not just about Paco. It's about you and me, and it's about our justice system.
Last question. What can we do? I mean, I don't think I got the answer I was looking for earlier. What can we do to make something happen? Can we send a petition or something to the government, to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I mean, we're no longer like, we don't no longer have an official signature campaign. I mean, you know, there's a website that you can sign, you know, and then there's, you know, Facebook and all that. But we've kind of, we've brought the film here as filmmakers, you know, and we're thrilled to screen it as much as possible. I leave it to you, to the media, to the lawmakers, you know, to the general public,
To do
something
about
about it. I'm not an activist. You know, I'm just a filmmaker sharing my story.
Marty, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having me.
The minute you forget about justice anywhere in the world, that's the beginning of the breakdown of society.